Are you starting? Am I starting?
Mics, camera, action. Welcome to Takaro Kids. We're a weekly podcast that helps kids of all ages understand the events that shape the world around them. And this week, one of those events is actually happening in Gaza. It's about the whole Palestine-Israel conflict. And if you've been listening to Takaro for a while, we have covered this before.
That's right. We've been talking about it for a long time because this war has been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. It all began when the Jewish and Arab people, they were living in the same land. But after World War II, this land was divided into parts where the Jewish people were given a certain portion and said, this is your home from now on, which meant a lot of Palestinian people who used to live there before had to leave, had to find another place. So this conflict has been going on for a long time. And then things got really, really bad. If you remember, October 7th, 2023, 2 years ago, things got really bad. A lot of Hamas militants who went into Israel and they attacked people there. A lot of people lost their lives. A lot of Israeli people were kidnapped by Hamas. Hamas is a militant group fighting for the rights of the Palestinian people. So they went in, they attacked Israel. And then after that, Israel obviously decided to go in and fight Hamas and completely destroy anyone who was responsible for these attacks, right? And you know what's been happening. It's been in the news. Gaza is in ruins. So many people have lost their lives and their homes, and they're living in tents as refugees. There's no food, there's no water, there's no medicine. So it's been a really, really horrible time. But why is it important now? All the more because just recently, a peace deal has been agreed on between Israel and the Hamas representatives. And that is extremely important because finally, the Palestinian people who've been suffering in Gaza can maybe breathe a sigh of relief and say, hey, this is now going to come to an end and maybe we will get our lives back again.
Yeah, so I think, the big topic for this week is the truce deal, right? Or the peace deal.
Yeah.
And it was brokered by the US, and Mr. Donald Trump was a very, very key part of this deal. In fact, he has actually been very instrumental in getting both of them to the same table to have a conversation. You know, he and his representatives, whether it's Jared Kushner, the Secretary of State, Mark Rubio, whoever else it may be, they've all kind of worked towards creating this peace deal. And the whole world is very divided on this, right? US has been pretty much, helping Israel kind of go through this entire process. But on the other hand, a lot of the European nations have recognized Palestine as a state. And that is the big problem. Israel does not want Palestine to be a separate state. They say Gaza is theirs and they need to kind of control it. Countries like France and Germany and some of the others have kind of gone in and recognized Palestine as a state, which goes against what Israel's fighting for. So there was a lot of this drama that was happening. And now with this truce deal, we're hopefully kind of going to see a lot more peace come in. And what's very interesting, Debbie, is that we actually have Donald Trump to thank for this. And he also thinks it'll be one of the many reasons why he will potentially be a very, very strong candidate for the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, he's been pitching himself for that prize for a while now.
Yeah.
For example, he did say that even when the attacks happened in Pahalgam in India, he said that he was responsible for making India and Pakistan stop fighting. Therefore, he should be given the Nobel Peace Prize.
Including Russia, Ukraine.
Ukraine as well. I mean, it is true. There's a lot of conflict in the world all the time. And I mean, it's not unusual that Trump has so much conflict going on during his time as president, but the fact that he's actually taken quite an aggressive stand and, spoken to leaders and said, hey, you've got to stop fighting. That's his claim.
Yeah, kudos.
So he does feel that he deserves that Nobel Peace Prize. But we'll see.
And everything had come to a head, right? When it comes to, what's happening in Gaza, there were so many things that were happening over the last couple of months because it really started picking up. As I said, many countries, recognized Palestine. But at the same time, there was this flotilla which went over and they were kind of sent back with some very, very I would say, influential and well-known people like Greta Thunberg, for example, right?
This is the second time that Greta Thunberg, now for anybody who doesn't know who she is, she's a 22-year-old climate activist from Sweden. Greta has been famous for the way she's fought for awareness about climate change, for the environment, and now she's decided to speak up for Palestine as well, to free Palestine. This is the second time she has tried to go in a flotilla. A flotilla is basically a group of boats. Now, all aid, remember we said the people in Gaza do not have access to food, water, medicines, and a lot of basic things, right? Because Israel has blocked all paths. So what a flotilla does is they are saying that we're going to get to Gaza by sea, right? We're going to take our boats and we're going to try and go to the shore and make sure that the aid reaches people over there. So Greta has done this once before. She was part of a flotilla. She was arrested, detained, and sent back. Exactly. Now, so for the second time, and it's not just her, there's a big group of activists from around the world, actually. They have also gone in this flotilla to try and get aid into Gaza, and they've also been detained and sent back. So a lot of people speaking up for Gaza, but now I think what's most important to remember is the people of Gaza themselves now can hopefully say that, okay, if there's a peace deal, and this peace deal is important because it's immediate. It means immediate ceasefire. That's what they've agreed to, which means stop shooting, fighting right now. There's no wait for it, maybe in 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time. And in exchange, what has been agreed on, now this is a 20-point peace deal. Okay, there are many, many points. Now this issue is very complicated, but some of the main things are, one is immediate ceasefire. Two, they've also agreed that the hostages, that the Hamas militants, remember we told you October 7th is when they kidnapped a lot of Israeli people. Some of them are still in captivity. So they've agreed that Hamas militants will release these hostages back. And in exchange, what Israel will do. Now, over the years, Israel has also been arresting a lot of Palestinian people. Anyone who spoke up against Israel, anyone who spoke up for the Palestinians' right to their land, they arrested those people and put them in jails in Israel. So they've agreed that they will release a lot of Palestinian prisoners as well. Right. So I think that also is quite a big deal.
It's huge, yeah, because I think Israel was using the whole hostage situation as one of the main reasons why they were attacking the Hamas and why they were kind of, on this path to obliterate, to really destroy Hamas as an organization. In fact, they've been very successful at it as well. One of the reasons that this peace deal is happening, at least that's what some people are saying, is because a lot of the Hamas leadership have actually been killed by the Israelis. And so Hamas itself has grown weaker and weaker as an organization to stand up for itself. So they're in a situation where they may be, better off with a peace deal than to try and keep fighting. That's what some people are saying, which all of it could be factors. And it's so complicated, like you said, that you can't pinpoint just one.
Yeah. And as it goes in all peace deals and agreements, right? You have to give a little, you have to accept a little bit, concede a little. Yeah. So in this case, you could say, Hamas has been weakened. And Hamas did say that we will only do this, we will only give back hostages if we get, this land for Palestinians. They're not going to get that.
This peace deal doesn't even outline any of that. It doesn't even touch the land part of it or anything, right? And they're still going ahead with it. Which is why I think many people are saying it's maybe because they've actually weakened as an organization so much.
That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is Hamas's entire objective behind doing this was to also draw attention to this cause. Right, to the cause of the Palestinians, because now, like we said, it's been happening for years and years. Israel has a lot of supporters across the world, America being its biggest ally. So there was not that much attention that was being given to this cause. There was no noise about it from the international community. There was no support from the international community for the Palestinian cause, a few years ago, as much as there is today. Imagine the number of people who've now spoken up and actually taken sides with Palestine and not with Israel. Israel has taken quite a beating in terms of its reputation in the world.
Yes, 100%.
So that I think Hamas might claim is a small victory for itself, right?
And I think now with this truce deal coming in and peace kind of hopefully setting in, what is next is also a really big question, right? Because Gaza, like you said, has been pounded by Israel. It's kind of brought down to rubble. I think I read somewhere that 80% of entire Gaza Strip is just rubble now, with no houses, no schools, no hospitals, no nothing, right? And so, how do you rebuild that? And who's responsible for rebuilding that? Is it Israel? Is it Palestine? I mean, who knows? Who's going to rebuild that as well, right? And US has said they will send some troops over as well to help with the peacekeeping and to make sure that aid is still provided for all those who need it in the Gaza region. So it's still so complicated. This peace deal is very, very, very good news, but there's still so much unknown, I think.
There's a lot of repair that needs to be done, not just in terms of, the city itself or the infrastructure. Repairing of people's lives is, I think, what is going
Oh,
to
yeah.
take multiple generations, because you're talking about so many kids who've not been able to go to school for like years now. Many families who
I
are no
mean,
longer
so many
together.
kids who have not had food, proper
Yeah,
food for days.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's a really sad state of affairs.
It has been very sad. And I'm so glad that finally, maybe, aid is going to reach the people who need it, and the fighting is going to stop. But yeah, it's a huge, huge development in this story.
The fact that so many people have now been bringing this issue to the forefront of news globally is also a big reason why this has been pushed so much. Netanyahu, who's the Israel prime minister, when he went and spoke at the UN a week ago or a week and a half ago in New York,
Yeah,
most people
opt out.
got up and left. That itself is a statement, right? Most country representatives of the United Nations got up and left. And so there's so much brand bashing that Israel has, gotten, obviously, because they've been just so aggressive, so, I'd say, inconsiderate to the people in Gaza. So there's a lot of those factors also that have to come in. And there are two sides to the coin, obviously. Israel's talking about the fact that they had to make sure that they are defending their people, and Hamas is talking about defending their people. So,
Yeah, yeah. People have not backed down. There's been a lot of pushback. A lot of
yeah.
people have been trying to get aid across to Gaza. I saw this lovely story, Kiran, about how people are actually putting food into plastic bottles, right? And closing these plastic bottles and throwing them into the sea, hoping that they will float across and reach the other coast.
Oh, God.
Like,
Wow. Oh,
yeah,
God.
that's the
Yeah.
people, and they're just throwing these bottles, hoping that some aid, some food, and filling it with food grains, right? Like rice and lentils and different things like that, dry goods, putting them into these bottles and sending them across, hoping that a little bit of food can reach someone, right? So it's
But
it's
then
quite
that's another
incredible.
question, right? And I mean, it's throwing plastic bottles into the ocean.
I think when there is no food to eat, you do not think about pollution.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair
you have
enough.
to, you prioritize. But yeah, speaking of another, well-known activist, by the way, that I was very interested to see, who's joined Greta Thunberg in this latest flotilla, the Sumud flotilla, it's called, is this person called Manla Mandela. And now that last name, I was very curious because the other Mandela that we know is Nelson Mandela, and turns out
Of
Manla
course.
Mandela is his grandson. Right? Nelson Mandela, for some of you who might not know, he's the former South African president, and he's a very famous activist who fought for equal rights for black people in South Africa. Okay? He fought against something called apartheid. Apartheid is basically where there was a lot of discrimination. Black people were not allowed to have jobs or land, or a lot of rights were taken away from them. And Nelson Mandela is famous for that. And he actually won the Nobel Peace Prize for that as well. So his grandson is part of this flotilla.
Yeah, he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993. And, it was like a no-brainer to give him the Nobel Peace Prize because he was jailed for years because of his activism. And then he came back and then became the president of South Africa. But now that you talked about the Nobel Peace Prize, it's very, very interesting because as of the time of this recording, this year's Nobel Peace Prize winner has been announced, right?
Yes. Yes, extremely important announcement made, and we had to talk about it because we want you to know the news as soon as it happens. So, yes, the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize has been announced, but in good old Takaro fashion, we are not going to tell you the name because we want you to go and find out. So, that is our quiz question for this week. Who just won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize? We're going to give you options. Option 1, Maria Ressa. Option 2, Maria Corina Machado. Option 3, Malala Yousafzai. Option 4, Nargis Mohammadi. Who won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize?
Good question. And breaking tradition, we have asked a quiz question which we have not talked about in the episode.
But we will talk about it because I think the next episode we're going to do is going to be about this winner and why it's a big deal and why she won.
Who's the winner? Who are we
I
gonna
can't
be
tell
doing the
you.
episode
Nice
about?
try. Nice try. Nice try. Our listeners will have to send that in. All they have to do is go to takarokids.com, put in their answers, or they can DM it to us on Instagram, and we will pick a winner and make the announcement in the next episode.
In fact, last week we asked a question which was related to the episode that we did. And the question was, which famous movie was inspired by the life of Sonam Wangchuk, the Ladakhi activist who we talked about last week? The options that we gave were A Beautiful Mind, Catch Me If You Can, 3 Idiots, and 12 Monkeys. And we even said it was a famous Hindi movie. So out of those 4, there's only one Hindi movie in the option. So the
Not a very obvious name, though.
Yeah, it's not a very obvious Hindi name, yeah. But the right answer is 3 Idiots.
Yes.
And we actually have a winner. We have Naushad from Delhi, who is a 11-year-old boy who is the winner. Congrats, Naushad.
Congratulations. Well done.
And as usual, and as tradition, you will get your gift certificate. And I will also ask for your address so you can get your Takaro Kids t-shirt.
Yay! I know you can't see him, but Kiran right now is wearing the Takaro Kids t-shirt. The design on the Takaro Kids t-shirt is something that we mention almost at the beginning of every episode.
If you do want to see the episode, you can always do that on YouTube as well. Just to make sure that you only get your YouTube access for the Takaro Kids video. But until next week, where we will talk more about the Nobel Peace Prize, it is bye-bye.
Bye-bye.